History of the Flamingo, Las Vegas. Billy Wilkerson was the founder of The Hollywood Reporter, the owner of several popular Hollywood nightclubs, and a self-described degenerate gambler. His son even said that he was addicted to gambling. In 1944, Billy lost $750,000 gambling in several Vegas casinos. Billy's friends, including Howard Hughes, suggested that he should just own the house since he was such a heavy gambler. With encouragement from his friends, Wilkerson decided that he wanted to develop a Las Vegas resort that was something different from the sawdust joints on Fremont Street. At the time, there were two hotels on the Strip, the El Rancho Vegas, built in 1941, and the Last Frontier, built in 1942, but Billy considered those rustic desert motels. Charles Pops Square, who was one of the original Las Vegas settlers, arrived in Las Vegas in 1905 and paid $350 for 40 acres on the east side of Highway 91. In 1944, Market Folsom bought the land from Pops for $7,500, and 1 year later, Billy Wilkerson bought 33 of those 40 acres from Market Folsom for $84,000. So Margaret was flipping real estate before it became fashionable. Billy wanted to build the first luxury resort in Las Vegas with a spa, showroom, restaurants, nightclub, and golf course. He decided that there would be no windows or clocks on the casino walls. The floor plan would require guests to walk through the casino to get to the registration desk, and the entire place would be air-conditioned. Wilkerson wanted a modern, glamorous resort with a French-style casino that would attract Hollywood stars. In 1945, with loans from Bank of America and Howard Hughes, Billy began construction on the resort with an estimated cost of $1.2 million, but he didn't have enough funding despite scaling back the project and stopped construction in early 1946. One source says that Billy tried to win the funding at the craps table and lost $200,000. Bugsy Siegel had recently moved to Vegas and bought the El Cortez to reinvent his image and diversify into a legitimate business after all of his time in the mob. Siegel wanted to expand the El Cortez, but had a difficult time with city officials because of his criminal connections. Wilkerson needed funding to complete his resort that was outside the city limits, so Bugsy Siegel, with his adolescent friend Meyer Lansky, who was the mob's accountant, and some other associates, bought a 2/3 stake in the Flamingo. Plus, being a degenerate gambler, Wilkerson was in debt to the mob, including Bugsy and Meyer. Bugsy Siegel finally saw his opportunity to become a legitimate businessman for good, and he took over the final phases of construction, but he had no experience in building or operating hotels. The construction costs were rising, due in part to the wartime supply costs and Bugsy's expensive design changes. Bugsy Siegel had a secret ladder built in the presidential suite, which was also called the Bugsy Suite, that went down to the underground garage where a chauffeured limo was always waiting for a quick getaway. The suite also had bulletproof windows. Bugsy was skimming money off the top, contractors were overcharging for supplies, and billing multiple times for the same supplies. Several old-timers have told the incredible story of expensive palm trees being shipped in from Baker and Barstow, California, to the Flamingo, and then overnight shipped back to California, only to be delivered again the next day for double billing. Eventually, Billy gave up all design control to Bugsy in exchange for stock in Siegel's hotel company that would run the Flamingo. The construction costs continued to rise, and Siegel put a little pressure on the builder, Del Webb, by telling him that he had personally killed at least a dozen men. Bugsy then added, "Don't worry, we only kill each other." There is conflicting information on the naming of the hotel, but there are sources that say Billy Wilkerson, who loved exotic birds, called his hotel project the Flamingo Club, with the flamingo as the logo before Bugsy got involved. By coincidence, the nickname of Bugsy's girlfriend, Virginia Hill, was Flamingo. The mob really respected Virginia Hill. In fact, she was the only woman identified as a mob associate, and they wanted Virginia around the Flamingo project to keep an eye on Bugsy due to his quick temper and poor business decisions. Virginia would have been a mob leader if she was a man because she had two important qualities. She was ruthless and could keep secrets. Virginia's nickname is either because her face turned rosy pink when she drank or because of her auburn hair. Others say because of Virginia's long legs, but she was only 5'4". On December 26, 1946, Bugsy opened the Flamingo 2 months earlier than what Billy had planned, with a cost of about $6 million. Men were required to wear a jacket and tie, while women wore evening gowns, but that didn't go over too well with the locals because Vegas was still an Old West town in 1946. Eventually, the resort added bingo and relaxed a dress code to attract the locals. The December gala opening was a disaster because there were staffing problems, the hotel rooms were not ready, and there was a poor turnout for the opening because there was a freak rain and windstorm that kept some planes grounded which were supposed to fly in A-list celebrities from Hollywood. Rose Marie, who had a 2-week contract to perform at the Flamingo, said that after the opening, she performed in front of about 9 or 10 people per night. One source says that the Flamingo opened incompetently, big and badly, and then shut down for repairs, only to open months later more quietly. Meyer Lansky and his mob associates were frustrated with their construction costs that were 4 times the original estimate, and they were embarrassed by the poor grand opening. For Bugsy Siegel, all his money and his mob friends' money was tied up in the Flamingo, and he didn't know if the Flamingo was going to be a flop. Some say the final straw for Meyer Lansky and his associates came 6 months later when they discovered that Bugsy had essentially embezzled $600,000 from the Flamingo by selling his hotel shares secretly. This discovery ended the adolescent friendship between Bugsy and Meyer. On June 20th, 1947, Bugsy Siegel, at the age of 41, was gunned down in his girlfriend's Beverly Hills home, where he didn't have the strongest security. The murder case has never been solved. Mob frontmen quickly assumed control of the Flamingo on behalf of Meyer Lansky and his associates. Lansky said later in life, in multiple interviews, that if it was up to him, Bugsy would still be alive. Rose Marie was told by Bugsy that, in a few years, this whole place is going to be filled with beautiful hotels, but she didn't believe him. In 1996, Hilton decided not to have a 50th birthday bash for the Flamingo Hilton, with a spokesman saying that the Bugsy image was not something that was particularly endearing to the Flamingo or Hilton. We're talking about a robber, rapist, and murderer. We've made a conscious decision to distance ourselves from the Bugsy heritage. But the first place to formally acknowledge the mob ties to Las Vegas was the Flamingo, with the Bugsy Siegel bronze plaque that is in front of the wedding chapel where many couples take pictures. And the Flamingo has the Bugsy and Myers Steakhouse. The Flamingo Las Vegas has had multiple owners and multiple renovations and currently has nearly 3,500 rooms. When the Frontier was demolished in 2007, the Flamingo became the oldest hotel on the Strip. But the last original hotel structure, the Bugsy Suite, was torn down on December 14, 1993, to make way for the pool and garden area, which has Chilean flamingos, ducks, koi fish, and turtles. There used to be penguins, but they were relocated to the Dallas Zoo. In 2012, Australian Football League player John McCarthy died after falling 30 feet from the rooftop after attempting to jump onto a palm tree, but missed and hit the ground. The team members had just arrived in Vegas that day for a postseason holiday. Here are some of the entertainers that have performed at the Flamingo over the years. Donnie and Marie hold the record for the longest-running musical act in Vegas history with 1,730 performances, with more than 9 million tickets sold from September 2008 to November 2019. Here are some films shot at the Flamingo. Down below in the description box are links to Vegas vloggers who have reviewed the Flamingo hotel, rooms, restaurants, and attractions. Bugsy Siegel is widely regarded as the man who invented the modern Vegas resort, but it was Billy Wilkerson's dream and vision that was behind the first modern resort. Billy Wilkerson never stayed at the Flamingo, despite multiple trips to Las Vegas over the years.